Welcome to the Everything Everywhere Travel Writer Podcast. Join award-winning freelance journalist Joan Matsui. Each week, you'll hear guests from all walks of life share their travel stories, tips, and advice on a variety of travel-related topics. Thanks for spending time with us today, and now it's time to dive into our interview.
Mike Stevens and I have spent a lot of time talking about Pennsylvania day trips and where you can go for a day of outdoor bliss. We're back again this week to explore the abandoned town of Ricketts, scenic areas along the Lackawaxen and Delaware Rivers, and Mike's experiences while photographing waterfowl. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. Just to bring you up to date on Mike is a very well-known broadcast and print journalist who loves to shoot the breeze. Welcome back, Mike Stevens. In this episode, Mike and I pick up on our conversation from last week about Lake Jean. Lake Jean is a beautiful lake in Luzerne and Sullivan counties in Pennsylvania. Actually, it's in northeastern Pennsylvania. Now, were you there last year during the beginning of the pandemic?
No, I didn't make a trip there last year. I was there, I think the last time I've been there was maybe a year and a half, last winter. The year before that, actually, in December, I think we went through there. Got some pictures. There's usually a fairly good crowd up there. And the other thing is, you want to, after you go past the entranceway to Lake Jean, a little further up the road was a place called Ricketts, the town of Ricketts, or village of Ricketts. I don't remember which. There's one of these blue historic marker signs out there. They'll give you the history of the place. It used to be a little town there. Some of the foundations are still there, the old concrete foundations. And it makes quite a little interesting tour through history up there.
So you mean there is a town right now that's called Ricketts? Or is there? Or there was?
There was, yeah. And
what happened to it?
I can't tell you. I don't remember exactly. But they used to cut ice out of one of the lakes up there for the wintertime, or summertime rather. And there used to be a whole business, I guess, enterprise, cutting ice, store it in for the rest of the winter, and then in the summertime, sell it off, you know. So in the town of Ricketts was named for Colonel Ricketts, I believe it was. And he had a lot of land around there, and that one of the areas was where this town is, or was, I should say. But that's another interesting little thing that you come across and have a chance to learn a little bit about history and get some great scenes. There's a state game land right up near that. I think it's right up on the border of that magic or that blue marker sign.
And they've got now. Are there places that people can walk? I mean, are there? Does that have a trail system, or?
You got to be careful around the remnants of Ricketts, because it's, there's blocks of stone and concrete and things laying around. But I haven't done enough research on it, and I should say I need to do a little more just to see a little more of the history of the place and what to look for, But again, that's one of those things that you drive up to and you say, gee, I never knew that was here before.
I didn't know that now. Yeah. I could say that right now. I didn't know that.
So you learn something, every time you go out. And it's after a while you become a regular font of knowledge. or when you're sitting around talking about things, hey, have you ever heard about Ricketts Glen and the town up on the top of the hill?
Well, I imagine that a lot of people, know about Ricketts Glen as far as the state park, but I don't know that everyone knows this story, that there are there's an area that you can walk around. It's very historical and, obviously abandoned. And those are the type of day trips that, go out, bring a lunch, and walk and observe, and look and really kind of visualize what you think the town might have looked like.
Yep.
When it was, abandoned.
Yep.
One of my other favorite places is along the Delaware River, up near the Pennsylvania-New York border.
Yeah.
Have you done any news stories up in that area, or have you ever ventured out, on a weekend and explored that area along the river?
Yeah, we've been to Zane Graves' house.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, we went there. And that's an interesting place too, because
yes,
you read about a Zane Graves story regarding, you would like this, the big fish, the one that he fished for. And you can look out the window, and that's where he did it. He was fishing right there, where I can't remember the name of the river, but it comes in and meets the Delaware right at that point. And that was his house. He would sit there in his study and look out, and he'd fish that area. And when he, he'd come back in and write about it. And there's that right down the street from that, or right down the river from that, is a Roebling Bridge, which was, I think, don't correct me or don't quote me on this, but I believe it was the first suspension bridge. It was built by a man named Roebling, who later went on, I believe, to do the Brooklyn Bridge. But everybody said he practiced on this one until he got it right and went and did the next one, But again, it's historic, and people are bored by history a lot of times, and they complain that there's nothing there for me, and well, the truth is, we build on our history, and we learn from history. And if there were mistakes back there, you say to yourself, gee, I wouldn't do that today.
Right.
Well, okay, you learned something.
Yeah.
It may be useful, maybe not be, but you learn something. And I think every time you learn something, that's a good thing.
Isn't where that the museum, the Zane Grey Museum, isn't that where the Lackawaxen meets the Delaware?
That's the name of the river I couldn't think of. Yeah.
Lackawaxen.
Yep.
Yeah, because I actually brought my family up there, to do some fly fishing, and we got into the Lackawaxen area, and it was a gorgeous day. We really had a good time, although the Lackawaxen has got some slippery rocks. Not that all rivers don't, but that particular day the water was really flowing. Right. But it is a very scenic area. I know people have seen bald eagles and other types of fowl and waterfowl and birds flying. It's very pretty.
Yep.
Very pretty.
There was if you set up with a camera there on a tripod and get ready, there is a good chance you'll see eagles within picture distance. Sometimes you have to have an awfully long lens to see them, but they're out there. And some of them, I swear, sit and pose. Like they've got this routine down, and they sit, and they turn their head a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You got my both sides. Okay, good. I'm gone. See ya.
They only give you a limited amount of time to take the photograph, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's like the sample. If you want any more, you got to pay for it.
They just sit there, and then and they'll wait, and they'll say, okay, I'll give her about 3 minutes to get that photo, and then that's it, and then I'm gone, right? And if you miss, if the lighting's not right, or the speed isn't set, the shutter speed isn't set properly, they'll say, well, too bad, you missed your opportunity.
Exactly. But that's a place to go, and you're fairly probably going to get to see an eagle.
Right.
If you're really lucky, you'll see one come in and get a fish out of the river.
Oh, yes.
And take it away.
Yes.
I've seen some pictures of that on social media, and that there's like photographers, amateurs and pros alike set their standards. They try to, and they say, if I ever get a shot like that, I'm going to quit. I don't care.
That'll be the ultimate, right?
Yeah, that'll be it.
One. And don't forget to stop by next week for part 3 of my series with Mike Stevens about Pennsylvania day trips. In the meantime, this week I'm launching my premium newsletter, This and That and Whatever Strikes Me. My first edition features a look into a family tradition handed down by my grandmother and a recipe you won't want to miss. The newsletter is $5 per month, and you will receive 2 editions per month. You'll find a subscription form on my landing page. And thanks again for joining Mike and I today.
Please visit JoanMatsuiTravelWriter.com, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. While you're there, check out the travel writing courses, membership support platform, and private coaching services to help you learn travel writing. If you found value in this show, we would appreciate a rating on iTunes, and don't forget to tell a friend. This show is produced and edited at Keystone College by Ryan Evans. A full transcript of this podcast will be available on our website.